the new interior. Whoa! So
Yeah.
everything has changed. It's great because there's a lot of feedback that
Yeah.
VW got.
Ready? Welcome back, everyone, to the VW ID Talk podcast. We are your hosts, Jan and Wes, and we've been doing lots of reading this week and thought we could not pass up the opportunity to talk to you about the ID3 Neo, the new ID3. And VW is very proud of the fact that they've listened to customers and pretty much fixed everything. I think one of the articles that I saw was, did Volkswagen fix everything that was wrong with the ID3? And I think the answer might be yes. Let's find out. Jan, what do you think?
Yeah, let's talk about it. I am really excited. We didn't have the hands-on experience yet on the ID3 Neo, but we drove the ID3 exactly this green color. So if you want to see our experience, I actually like the car. It was very nimble. I really enjoyed the drive. But now the style and design has changed quite significantly.
Well, you enjoyed it because you were in beautiful Czechia when you were driving it. So you're driving. I mean, I remember you saying you liked it more than you expected to like it.
Yes, exactly. And by the way, please subscribe because we will, with Wes, we are going to Europe, and we will try to get our hands on the ID3 Neo and or ID Polo or one of these new cars, including the Cupra. So
maybe
please subscribe so you don't miss that.
Maybe even the Cooper Revolve.
That would be cool. That would be super cool. All right, so changes. So there are some changes from the front. I would say that from the front it looks like the typical refresh that car makers do. They usually change the plastic parts, meaning the front bumper and the headlights, and that's what it looks is being changed here. I kind of like, because the signature of the front lights, you see that the lights are a little maybe narrower, and the connection bar between them is thicker, right? And then what is interesting is that it connects, and maybe this is just a design difference. But when you look at the original ID3, then the eyebrows kind of connected, and they continued on the line. On the midline, on the backlit line, but here they're kind of disconnected, and the lower one is thicker and continues across the vehicle. So
and that is actually a light bar on the new one, the ID3 Neo light bar that goes across, and that's a design trend that people were saying may be on the way out, but doesn't seem to be. It's I think it looks great. Honestly, I like the older one, but I like them both.
Same here. There's one interesting design element, that the front radar has been moved to the bottom here. So I'd be really interested if you all have experience with the front radar in this position during winter, because usually if it's behind the bumper like we have on the ID4, when there's a snow, it stops working. So who knows if it's better or worse like this. Now, when we look on the side of the profiles, it's pretty much the same. ID3 already had the regular door handles, so there is pretty much no difference from the side, other than different wheels. Like, these wheels look really cool. And when we look on the vehicle from the back, it really the paint job is the difference. But I think it looks better, right? When the rear hedge plus the rear spoiler here and the roof is painted to the body color.
I 100% agree. I didn't dislike the old one, but I think this new, it looks much better when it matches the body color. But otherwise, the headlights or the tail lights are the same. It just mostly is the same. So
exactly.
It's interesting what you said about the door handles. One of the articles said the door handles are no longer streamlined; they're regular, and they were already regular for the ID3.
They were already regular on the ID.
I think they were comparing it to the ID4. But I'd like our ID4 handles just fine. But you know what? If people want regular handles,
exactly.
Give the people what they want.
Exactly. So let's look under the hood, to say, or under the chassis. So when we see the back, the rear axle, then it is multi-link rear. That's what differentiates it from the ID Polo and ID Cross, because it doesn't have multi-link rear.
So it's a better suspension.
So the multi-link rear is better suspension, especially when you're going across bumps. And then it also has the motor. So it's a rear wheel car. And so that's another difference between the ID3 Neo and the ID Polo.
Okay. But otherwise, it's the motor and the charge controller are really in the same position.
Yeah. So this is the inverter for the motor, and below here, this is exactly what Wes you just said. This is the AC charger. So if you plug in your car into the wall, into level 2, that's what is making 400 volts DC off of the your um, your utility power. And then the battery seems to be different because now VW has the cell to pack battery. So potentially they're already using the cell to pack in these new cars as well. So we talked about it when we talked about the ID Polo. So check out that recording. But pretty much the big difference is that when you see these bigger bricks, if you will, these bigger modules, that was like one interchangeable component. But on the cell to pack, those individual batteries that are smaller will be individual component and individually replaceable and serviceable. So that's great news.
That also means they can squeeze a lot more power into the same footprint, or they can put the same power in a smaller amount of footprint. And that seems to be what they've done here. It's a 70. You can get up to a 79 kilowatt hour battery.
And there's also something new with the battery that's a really good point, Wes, that they do have the smaller capacities, but it's a different chemistry. It's LFP compared to the traditional NMC. So potentially cheaper for the end user.
Okay, for the larger capacity is still NMC. But the older one will be LFP. The smaller is LFP.
Yeah, exactly. And then the front. This is the current ID3. This is the Neo. So of course, there's more component. You see the airbox right here. This is the brake fluid. This is the 12-volt battery. This is the radiator. And then so it's pretty much the same. They also show here. This is by the way the head-up display. If you haven't seen one, so it's a massive piece. So
I had no idea it was so big.
Yeah,
because we don't have it in the US.
I know. So let's now go into the ID3 Neo full screen. So if you're wondering what are these components, so these are the high voltage components. So this is the compressor for AC, and this is your DC converter, meaning that's what charges your 12-volt battery. That's what makes 12-volt from the 400 volt. So again, very similar architecture. What is really exciting is the new rear axle motor.
Yeah, I feel like I usually know about these things, and I did not know about this. I'm really excited to see. So our ID4s in the US before 2024 and the previous ID3s had what they called the APP 310 motor, which is because it had 310 Newton meters of torque, right? And so this new one, what is cool about this new one?
Well, what is cool about this new one, it has higher power, higher torque, but also lower consumption, or it's more effective, delivering that higher torque.
So more torque, more power, and better efficiency. I mean, what's not to like? This is very similar to what they did when they upgraded us to the APP 550 motor here in the US, but this is not as powerful as those. But that's pretty great. So I mean, you're looking at 350 Newton meters of torque, and the consumption has been reduced by up to 35%. Pretty impressive in the same footprint.
That can give your, like, if you would swap this motor in your to your ID4, you could get over 300 miles. Like you could get to like 320, something like that, right? So that seems like a significant gain. So we'll see. We'll see what the ID4 Neo will be like, but we shall see.
Yeah. That'll be Jan's next mod.
Yes, that would be our next mod. And another cool thing is the new audio system. So now they have the Harman Kardon sound system. So you may know them from ID4 and ID Buzz as well. So now this system is available in the ID3, which is, and so because Wes is now in his audio mode, so we'll just quickly go through this. So what you see here is that the front tweeter and the front woofer on both the left and right side are connected to separate channels in the amplifier, which is better. Then the front woofers are doubled, so they have two physically, not just like two wires, but like physically 4 wires leading into the woofer.
I think that's what they call that bi-amping, I believe.
Bi-amping, yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And then the rear side, this is exactly how our or how this audio system looks on the front without the Harman Kardon. So it's just like one line into left, one line into right, and then there's a filter for the tweeter, and the tweeter is fed from the same line. And of course, we don't have the subwoofer, and the subwoofer here again has two lines. So in such a small space, and I'm sure it's well isolated from the outside, this must be beautiful. I when I had the ID7, when I rented the ID7, they had also some surround speakers at the back. This one doesn't have it, but the audio was just beyond. It was amazing. So. Yeah,
I know you love the ID7.
I know. Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
and by the way, shameless plug. Like we did look at the ID7 Tour last year. So take a look at our review. It was a great car. Okay, so this is the new interior. Whoa! So
yeah.
everything has changed, like literally everything. There's not many things that remained, which is great because there's a lot of feedback that VW
Yeah.
got.
I guess the infotainment display is essentially the same,
Yeah,
but
but
otherwise,
yes.
yeah.
Well, but so now they're using different operating system. Now they have they used Linux before, but now they're using Android.
Okay.
Which is
Android Automotive, which is the
Android
underlying
Automotive.
operating.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. So they have some additional optimizations
Okay.
for automotive. But what is really cool is now finally they have camp mode.
Yes.
They
They're
call it Übernachten, like if you like sleeping over. And so you
okay.
can literally turn on, you can say eco, regular, and you can go all the way to 48 hours where you turn on the stationary air conditioner or stationary heating, which is amazing. Like this would be
Yep.
super amazing for the bus.
Yeah, definitely for the bus. For the ID3, I'm glad they added it. I'm not sure who's going to camp in their ID3, but if you want to, now you can.
Now you can. Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's great.
And what you also see here is what you Wes mentioned, which is the digital instrument screen. So I was okay with our small one, but I get it that people want to see, for example, a map, right?
Yeah.
And so today you can project a map on this larger display. This display seems to be the same system that they have on the regular Polo or on the Jetta or Golf here in the US. So you can go and play with it. So you can literally even have this vintage screen. This is like, I don't know, Mark 1 revision 2 or something, because when I remember our Mark 1, we didn't have two needles and these were not LEDs, but that's okay. That's okay.
No, I think you can probably tell, but this whole thing, none of this is analog, right? This whole thing is one big LCD.
Yes,
so the whole thing's skinnable, right? None of that is actually, even the little things that look like old LEDs and LCDs in the bottom are not. Those are not. This is all a digital display.
Really good. Yes.
And it looks great.
You can customize it. You can have because it reads. It also, of course, it reads road signs. Now the car also can stop on red and stop on a stop sign allegedly. So that's amazing. That's amazing. And so when you're changing this, you can have the assist system inside one. Like there's so many customizations that you can do here. So I'm excited.
Like it.
It's really exciting. Now, the steering wheel. Yeah.
The most important, that's the elephant in the room. We didn't mention it yet, but obviously the biggest change everyone has been complaining about. Jan and I may have mentioned it a time or two in our videos. So a couple of things you notice right away. There are physical buttons on the steering wheel, no capacitive touch. And it's also a 2-spoke steering wheel, not a 3-spoke steering wheel. Not a bespoke steering wheel, but basically a brand new, and it's also squared off at the top and bottom for those folks that are taller. And that's going to make a lot of people really happy. You've got real buttons on there. I know some people appreciate the ability to swipe left or right for the volume on our capacitive steering wheels, but
honestly, since we swapped our capacitive for the real buttons, I am enjoying them because I don't have to look what I'm pressing. I just feel the button and I just press it and bingo, right?
I think this was the right call.
Yes, 100%.
And then, of course, you can also see slightly behind that, Jan pointed out earlier, the on the right-hand side, the gear shifter is now backlit, just like it is on the newer ID vehicles.
Yeah, there's a version, and maybe you might have that version that is not backlit. So then it would look like this, right? So you see that this is just imprinted, and it's not necessarily backlit. And then the park is here.
Right. And so on the new one, on the old one, it would show on the screen, what gear you remember, this driver, reverse, or B mode. But in the new one, it lights up directly on the stalk, which one you're using. So that's great.
Yeah, it's exciting.
So you had pointed out there the light cluster. You were experimenting with this yourself, right?
Yes.
So you have one of these.
Yeah. So it's so when we compare the old and the new, right? So this is the new one, upside down. And this is the old one. So the old one combined air conditioning. So it was like light and vision, and they went back into vision. But what is cool about this is that this combines physical press.
Okay.
And there is just one physical switch, and then they read still this capacitive surface. but only when you press
Only
it.
when you press. Okay.
So it's combination of touch and physical press with some like real audible feedback.
Yeah,
And
okay.
it's very well designed. I was actually worried that it would be like more sensitive on which side you press it, but it's actually not. I'm really
Okay.
surprised about the execution. And if you want us to do some tear down of this button and compare it with the previous generation, let us know down in comments. We'll do that.
Okay. I like it. It's smaller. It's better. It's only for the lights. There's no climate combined with it.
Yep.
Right. And so then the last thing, I think you got a close-up photo of the most. Yes. So the other thing we've complained about, there's something. First of all, the most important thing that we all notice is there are 4 windows and 4 window switches.
Oh, they have 4 windows still. Okay,
Yeah,
well
yeah,
now
yeah.
they have. I thought our ID4 came only with 2 windows. No.
Oh no, there are 4 windows.
Oh, they're okay. I didn't check. I'm just kidding. Of
course, Jan is joking. Jan pioneered this, being able to retrofit the switches. But this is the same layout they've had. This might even be the same part with slightly different. You can see the textured chrome tips of the buttons.
Yeah.
But this is a tried and true design with the mirror folding controls and the mirror heat and adjustments and the window switches and the child safety lock at the bottom.
Yep.
They've added a new lock switch at the top. This lock and unlock, the physical press. And then since we're zoomed in close, this is something I actually didn't think about, but Jan, you pointed out that the trim surrounding these buttons is now matte. So enough people complained about the piano black.
Piano gloss black, right?
Yeah.
No longer there. So we hope that the ID4 Neo part would be retrofittable to our ID4s. Let's see. This is a little different shape on the ID3, but let's see if that part that will be for the ID4 Neo would be. And by the way, we don't know if it's going to be ID Tiguan or ID4 Neo. So we just use the ID4 Neo for now, and we'll see what it will be at the end.
We will see.
We'll see. And there is also as one more thing that I'm like super excited about, which is the splitting of the lock and unlock.
Yeah.
Right. Because sometimes when you unlock the vehicle through the front door handle, then my setting is that the rear doors are still locked, but the lock button is not lit. And so what it means that if I want to unlock the rear doors, I need to press the lock button twice.
Okay.
And so here it's clear. I want to either lock everything or unlock everything. It's just clear as day. So
I did not realize that happened, but yeah, that is better. So they have fixed a lot of things people were frustrated with.
Yes.
I know some people did like the piano black, but they kept like one of those glasses cloths in their glove compartment. They would always wipe it down every time.
Wipe it down, of course. I mean,
so but this solves the problem.
This is awesome. This is awesome. We talked about the steering wheel. There is also some change in the middle console, where on the top there's one place for ventilated charger, but also there is this seems like additional pocket with light. So that's great. And we have something special here as well.
It looks like volume and track changing. So what you've got in your hand is an Audi volume switch.
It's the same component, similar component. This one is dedicated for Audi. And what you can do with this is that you can turn it, so you can rotate it.
Okay.
You can swipe it from side to side
for track changing.
And you can press it to mute the audio.
Very nice.
That's awesome. So even your passenger has access to quick access to volume control, which I think is great. And also, I sometimes realize that if I have my wheel turned around and I want to change the volume, I don't want to like find the volume button. I'll just use the slider. So in this case, we could use directly this button, which
I like it. One more thing before you change, what I've read a lot is that they said better materials. And look at the seat there. I know that they're probably not going to have, if we're lucky enough to get the ID3 in the US, it's not at all clear that we will. But they offer real wool seats, and the fabrics are nicer. So I'm not sure if that's wool or not.
But we haven't talked about that. You're actually making really good point, because on this picture you see that the dashboard is very different. Like allegedly, this piece in the middle is soft touch. This is some chrome finish with, and of course the accent light. And this is fabric that stretches across the top dashboard. So I really like it, especially on the older or on the current ID3. The light cluster was here, like above the vent. So I'm really excited about this design.
Yeah, it's a great design. Yeah.
And we need to talk about this, Wes, as well.
It looks familiar.
It
So
looks
this is
familiar, yeah.
similar to what you have retrofitted from Skoda,
Yeah.
but those were multifunction. This is just climate. So what you're holding in your hand there is the some of the buttons. It's similar to what you retrofitted from your Skoda there.
Mhm.
You can see you've got climate and defrost on there,
Yep.
and the emergency blinkers and the lock button. And that one's also missing the park lights, but
Yeah,
this
this specific part, but
Mhm.
yep.
But this one here, instead
Uh-huh.
of except for the emergency flashers,
Yep.
is dedicated to climate.
To climate. Yep.
And so
And
the
you
difference,
can
yeah,
pull it up and down as well, so that's cool.
yeah. So the Skoda buttons you're showing us are just you press the button. With
Mhm.
this, you can toggle up
Up
to
and
increase
down.
the temperature or fan speed. You can toggle down to decrease temperature and fan speed. So it's a really neat design.
Yeah.
I certainly don't have any complaints about it.
Neither I.
I think the answer to the question is I'm sure people can still find something to complain about, but from my perspective, it looks like the answer is yes. Volkswagen seems to have fixed everything that people complained about.
I totally agree.
I
I
mean,
I totally agree. I totally
yeah,
agree. Volkswagen has fixed a lot of things. We only wish it didn't take since 2019, right?
yes.
But you know, it's there. Now the next exciting is how the ID4 Neo, or how the refresh of the ID4 would look like. Would they go as far as sharing similar interior as ID3 Neo?
Yeah.
We shall see.
Will it be an ID.1 instead of an ID4? We don't know. So, yeah. All right. Well, great. Jan, thanks for putting all this together. I mean, it's really great to see VW doing an amazing job. And
Thank you,
obviously,
VW.
as fans, yes, well done. Thank you, folks, for watching. Please subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Hopefully, have some more exciting things to share.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.